The Galactic Combat Training Facility on Arcturus Prime had a reputation for breaking cadets. Instructor Zarketh, a battle-scarred Draknari veteran of 40 years, took pride in that reputation. He'd trained warriors from 63 species, and his methods were unconventional. Some called them brutal. Zarketh called them effective. Today's class was Combat Reflexes 301, and the exercise was simple: dodge. Zarketh would throw various objects at the cadets, training weights, batons, practice weapons, and they had to avoid getting hit. It taught spatial awareness, reaction time, and the kind of combat instincts that kept you alive when things went sideways. 24 cadets stood in formation, representing a dozen species. Most were nervous. A few were confident. And one, the human, looked bored. Cadet Riley Cooper stood at parade rest in the back row, her expression neutral, her posture relaxed. She'd been at the academy for 6 weeks and had quietly excelled at every physical challenge. But she rarely spoke, rarely showed emotion, and Zarketh found that irritating. Humans were supposed to be emotional. Unpredictable. Easy to provoke. This one was like carved stone. Today, Zarketh announced, his 4 arms flexing, we test your reflexes under pressure. When I throw something at you, you dodge. You don't catch. You don't block. You move. His eyes, all 6 of them, scanned the formation. If you fail to dodge, you will be hit. If you are hit, you fail the exercise. If you fail too many exercises, you wash out of the academy. He picked up a training baton and, without warning, hurled it at a Vexthar cadet in the front row. The insectoid ducked, mandibles clicking nervously. The baton sailed over his head and clattered against the wall. Good, Zarketh said. Next. For the next 10 minutes, he threw objects at various cadets. Most dodged successfully. A few got hit and were sent to stand against the wall in shame. The exercise was standard, routine, designed to build reflexes through repetition and consequence. Then Zarketh's eyes fixed on Riley. The human had dodged twice already, once gracefully, once barely. She'd shown competence but nothing exceptional. Nothing to justify the quiet confidence in her stance. Time to test that confidence. Zarketh picked up a combat knife, blunted for training, but still metal, still dangerous if it hit wrong. Without warning, without the usual half-second telegraph he gave other cadets, he whipped it directly at Riley's head. Fast. Professional. The kind of throw that had disarmed enemies in actual combat. What happened next occurred so quickly that most cadets didn't see it clearly. Riley's hand snapped up, her fingers closing around the knife's handle mid-flight. She didn't flinch. Didn't blink. Didn't step back. Just caught it, clean and smooth, like she'd been expecting it all along. Then she smiled. The training hall went dead silent. Zarketh's eyes widened slightly, the first time anyone had seen him show surprise. Cadet Cooper, the instructions were to dodge, not catch. Yes, Instructor, Riley said calmly, still holding the knife. But you threw it at my face. Dodging seemed like the second best option. Second best? Zarketh's voice had a dangerous edge. Explain. Riley hefted the knife, testing its weight. Where I come from, if someone throws a knife at you, catching it means they no longer have the knife. That seemed like a better outcome than just getting out of the way. Where you come from, Zarketh repeated slowly, is combat training standard for your species? Not exactly standard, Riley admitted. But common enough. My father was a Marine. He started teaching me knife work when I was 8. Said it was important to know how to handle blades. Zarketh processed this. You've trained with bladed weapons since childhood? Yes, Instructor. Knives, swords, axes, spears, pretty much anything with an edge. It's kind of a hobby back home. The Draknari instructor looked at the human cadet, then at the knife in her hand, then back at her face. For the first time in his 40-year career, he felt something he rarely experienced: concern. "Cadet Cooper," he said carefully, "when I throw a training knife at your head, the appropriate response is evasion. Catching it suggests concerning levels of familiarity with violence." Riley's smile didn't waver. "Instructor, with respect, I'm from Earth. Everything on my planet has either claws, venom, or teeth. Humans survived by being better at violence than everything that wanted to eat us. We've been throwing sharp objects at each other for about 50,000 years. We're pretty good at it by now." She flipped the knife casually, catching it by the blade, and offered the handle back to Zarketh. "Want to try again? I'll dodge this time if you prefer." Zarketh didn't take the knife. Instead, he addressed the entire class, his voice carrying a weight it hadn't before. "Change of exercise. Everyone against the wall except Cadet Cooper." He pointed at Riley. "You. Center of the room. Demonstrate your hobby." Riley walked to the center of the training floor, still holding the knife. Around the room, cadets pressed against the walls, suddenly very aware that they might be in over their heads. Zarketh picked up 3 more training knives. "Catch these." He threw them rapid fire, one after another, from different angles. Riley caught the first with her right hand. The second with her left. The third she plucked out of the air with 2 fingers, like catching a feather. "Throw them back," Zarketh ordered. Riley's stance shifted, becoming balanced, centered. Then she threw. The first knife embedded itself in the training dummy 20 meters away, directly in what would be the heart region for most humanoid species. The second hit the same dummy in the head. The third bisected the tiny gap between the first 2. The room was silent except for the reverberating thunk-thunk-thunk of metal hitting target. Distance, 20 meters. Moving target. Zarketh activated the training dummy, which began sliding on rails across the wall. Riley threw 4 more knives in quick succession. Each one hit center mass as the target moved. Multiple targets. 3 dummies activated, moving in different patterns. Riley's hands became a blur. 9 throws. 9 hits. Not a single miss. Zarketh finally spoke, and his voice carried something none of the cadets had ever heard from him before: respect tinged with apprehension. "Cadet Cooper, how many hours have you trained with thrown weapons?" Riley thought about it. "Probably around 5,000 hours, give or take. Plus whatever my genetics contribute. Humans have been throwing things since before we were technically human. It's kind of what we do." She looked at the instructor's other 3 hands, each holding a knife he hadn't thrown yet. "You were planning to escalate, weren't you? See how many I could handle at once." Zarketh said nothing. "Instructor, you have 4 arms. You could potentially throw 4 knives simultaneously, different vectors, overwhelming my ability to catch them all." Riley's expression remained pleasant but her eyes were sharp. "That's good tactics. But here's the thing about human reflexes: we evolved chasing prey across open savannas while avoiding ambush predators. Our hand-eye coordination is abnormal by galactic standards." She gestured at the knives still in his hands. "Throw all 4. Let's see what happens." For a long moment, Zarketh considered. Then he made a decision that would change how the Academy trained human cadets forever. He didn't throw the knives. He set them down. "Class dismissed," he announced. "Except Cadet Cooper. You stay." The other cadets filed out quickly, whispering among themselves. When the room was empty, Zarketh approached Riley, his posture less aggressive than usual. "Cadet, I need to ask you a direct question, and I need an honest answer." "Yes, Instructor." "How dangerous are humans, really? Not your military capabilities or technology. Just, you. Your species. With nothing but primitive weapons." Riley considered the question seriously. "Instructor, Humans conquered our entire planet with nothing but rocks and pointed sticks. We killed animals 10 times our size by throwing sharpened stones from a distance. We survived ice ages, plagues, and each other. We're persistent, adaptable, and we never, ever give up. She paused. We're also smart enough to know when to use that violence and when not to. That's what makes us more dangerous than the animals we learned from. We can choose. Zarketh was quiet for a moment. Then, the academy curriculum needs adjustment. We've been training humans like we train other species. That's insufficient. Insufficient how? You need harder challenges. Opponents who understand what you're capable of. Training that actually pushes your limits. He picked up one of the training knives. Because if we send you into real combat unprepared for your own capabilities, you'll be as dangerous to your allies as to your enemies. Riley nodded slowly. You're worried I'll hold back in the field, then overcompensate when I finally let loose. Exactly. So what do you recommend, Instructor? Zarketha's smile was grim. Advanced combat training. Starting tomorrow. Just humans. We need to understand what we're working with before we unleash you on the galaxy. As Riley left the training hall, she couldn't help but smile. Finally, someone understood. Humans hadn't joined the Galactic Council because they were peaceful. They'd joined because they'd gotten very, very good at controlled violence over millions of years of evolution. And catching knives? That was just the beginning. 6 months later, the Academy established a separate combat curriculum for human cadets. The failure rate was 73%. The ones who graduated became legends. And the galaxy learned an important lesson: if a human catches something you throw at them, you'd better hope they decide to give it back.